It's interesting how I began Young Engineers. So my daughter, who is now 17, going on 20, let me say. At the time, she was a young little girl, 8 years old, and I've always been very intentional about the parties or the events I hold in terms of celebrating the milestones for my kids. And so she was always very good with building blocks. And one of her teachers, elementary teachers, mentioned to me that, it's something I need to build up on because she learns very well using building blocks. And so I was planning a small party for her and her friends. And because she was into Lego and a lot of building blocks, I decided to Google activities that I can be able to do with her and her friends during her birthday. And so alas, I came across the Young Engineers website, which at the time was a company abroad. And so I went through their website, so what it is that they do, and I loved what they do. So I made a call. At the time, I was not living in the country, I was living in a different country. And so I invited them over for us to be able to do an activity with the kids. I loved how the experience for the children was so imaginative and so creative and hands-on, and the children could actually relate to building a candy factory because that was the theme. The theme was on a candy factory. They were able to build a candy factory and actually create a mixer and use that mixer to be able to ice cupcakes that we were doing for the birthday. And it was so fascinating for me. And then I extended my interest into research about what actually happens on the background. And here we are today. So I realized that actually, besides just the fun and the creative aspects of what we were doing then, that this is actually a program that can be used by young learners to be able to learn science, technology, engineering, and maths. So boom, I came back home with this big dream and big vision of educating young minds from ages 4 to 16 with this brilliant program. And I had big dreams, and I thought, wow, I'll just land and everything will be smooth sailing because you have this amazing idea that, hey, no one has. So you think, as an entrepreneur, when you're starting something, you're very excited. So you come with a lot of you come with a lot of big dreams. So of course, you're launching this program and it's a big deal. So at the time when we did the launch, we called the Israelis who are the founders of the Young Engineers program and brought them into Kenya and had this big launch with which was well attended by lots of principals of schools and a lot of industry players. And so you imagine after the launch that everything is going to continue with the same trajectory because, hey, why would it go different? But then shock on you because then, like I said, you're not prepared for what's ahead of you. And so year one was the toughest because then you expect after the launch and all the noise you've made, it will pick up and you will just hit the ground running. But that was not the case. Many people didn't understand what we were doing actually. It felt like we're just playing with toys, and how can toys teach kids? And how can kids relate to such expensive toys and learn from them? And also it looked like it's also only for specific people and not relatable to all children in terms of the different curriculums. And so it would look like it aligned maybe to the international schools as opposed to across board all children who are in any learning institution. And so that was also a different mindset that I didn't expect to be received with. And so that was one of the hurdles. And then also the fact that you keep explaining how do toys make it fun to learn. And that was also another hurdle, which I didn't conceptualize that would be a difficult thing to explain. But then fast forward, we are here today. STEM is part of the curriculum, even it's part of the CBC curriculum. Who would have known that it would be here today? The challenges were insurmountable at some point, and even with COVID having been part of us for the last 2 years, I cannot begin to share how tough that was when all the schools were shut and nothing was happening. And considering our program is one-on-one and kids have to touch and experiment with what we do, it was a very tough moment. And that's the journey of entrepreneurship. It has lots of ups and it has also lots of downs. What you don't realize is when the challenges come, how they can overwhelm you to the point that you want to give up. And now I understand why they say the first 2 years of business are the hardest, and that's when most entrepreneurs give up on the businesses or the dreams or the visions they thought were so great. But I'm glad to say that I'm still here with my head up and keeping my head up and going. Despite all those challenges, what happens is that there are seasons of great growth and seasons of great failure as well.